In the Isle, survival can be hard. A constant struggle to earn your next meal, or not become someone else's. A vicious cycle of death and rebirth, with countless possibilities at every turn. Ingenuity and adaptability oftentimes outlive brute strength, and the easiest way to get the upper hand in a hunt is to stay out of sight. Survival is a battle of endurance, bidding your will against another's, to determine who will see tomorrow's sun. Inside this Ferris wheel of fate, we join the fray, to see what the fight for survival looks like through the eyes of Herrerasaurus. We're spawned out somewhere in the middle of the jungle, the sounds of a distant thunderstorm rolling out from beyond our horizon. Our quest for food and water begins immediately. Into the jungle we run, following our nose in the direction of sanctuary. Atop the rock, we spot a river cutting through the jungle. We'll begin our search for food there, along the river's banks. The Herrerasaurus is a wonderfully adaptable creature, able to climb and swim, as well as survive falls from astonishingly great heights, unharmed. For this young one, we were just beginning to learn what we were capable of. When we finally found our way to the river, we tested the waters for danger and topped up our thirst. The sound of a frog's croak ripped through the air and grabbed our attention. The perfect first meal for an adolescent Herrerasaurus. Although small, our strike is swift, securing our first meal there at the river's fork. The tiny amphibian would fully fill our stomachs and our nutrient needs. However, the kill did not go unnoticed. Scavengers of the jungle started to swarm in following the scent of blood. The tiny pests finally retreated, giving up their claim to the meal. The compy was at least nice enough to wait his turn for a bite to eat. With the sound of thunder slowly getting closer, and our stomachs filled, we retreated into the trees to rest, heal, and grow. While we wait for the inevitable storm. We had managed to find a relatively safe place to call home, with an abundance of water and the sound of other dinosaurs pulling in from all around. When the storm had finally quieted down, we descended back to the ground to fill our thirst. There's always a level of unease anytime you step up to the water's edge. You never know where Dinosaur could be lurking. Into the dense jungle we adventured to practice hunting from the trees. We followed the many animal sounds around the darkness of the jungle, leaping from tree to tree. But our prey seemed to be aware and keeping their distance from us. We eventually missed our grab on a large tree, but just so happened to land right next to a boar. He came rushing at us and the hunt began. Our next meal delivered on a silver platter. The hunt wasn't without its consequences, but we still happily engorged on the fresh boar. When our stomachs were finally filled, we returned to our resting tree at the river's fork and laid down to recover our health. As sub-adult growth, it wouldn't be long until we set out to hunt something larger than boar and frogs. But for now, we needed to keep practicing our tree traversal skills. When we were fully recovered, we'd once again return into the jungle and start another hunt. The calls of the wild permeated through the dense jungle foliage, a melody of many vibrations leading us to our goal. We were successfully able to sneak our way above our target, the deer unaware of the looming danger above. We positioned ourselves on the side of a branch, and then launched ourselves like a gravity rocket to the earth, killing our prey in a single hit. Although food is plentiful in this dense jungle, every meal comes with a fight. These annoying scavengers were always quick to pick a fight above their weight class. When the assault finally ended, we happily ate our fill and celebrated another successful hunt. We returned to the river's edge and quenched our thirst. It was really starting to seem like there was no nearby dinos to worry about, so we threw caution to the wind and drank freely in the open. Since survival wasn't a concern, we turned our attention to entertainment. We found ourselves a friend to play with, since we've been alone forever. Meet Mr. Ribbits. Today, we're going to demonstrate how to do a flying atomic frog splash from the top branch. Life as a sub-adult Herrerasaurus passed by enjoyably. The rich jungles of the Isle provided all our needs. Frogs, deers, and boars galore. We'd spend the rest of the day hunting what was near, eating until our bellies were bursting and relaxing in luxury of the jungle's canopy. Enjoying the content? Hit the like and subscribe button to show your support. You're greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching. A long time passed atop that cliff. Our food gone, and a storm exploding overhead. We head down into the canyon, under the cover of rain to top up our thirst, and position ourselves for another hunt. The storm had finally passed, leaving behind a ghastly fog. We were finally an adult Herrerasaurus, capable of leaping much farther than ever before. Our stomachs growled mercilessly, reminding us just how long we sat and waited around for, and we needed to find food. But as always, the jungle's rich environment brought with it plenty of wildlife. We'd top out our nutrients on deer and boar on the opposite side of the river that we'd never been to before. When the basics of survival were covered, we turned our attention to the calls reverberating across the isle. It was time for a real hunt. The broadcast of the Omniraptors would surely lead us to their location. We moved quickly between broadcasts, slowly honing in on where they called home. Apparently, the calls of other dinosaurs traveled for ages. Since we still weren't quite there, we turned our attention to a boar we just passed at the river. A quick snack to keep our hunger satiated. As we rushed the boar to take him down, we heard the splashing of water. Our hearts stopped with our feet, but what came out was nothing more than a baby Gallimimus. We still played it cautiously in case he was nothing more than live bait at the river's edge. Instead, the baby galley ends up pushing the boar towards us for an easy kill. We could have easily ended the galley's life, probably in a single bite, but we decided to show him the mercy of a full belly. He'd say his last goodbye, and off into the distant horizon he traveled, his own story just beginning to unfold. The weather on the Isle was pretty crazy. Huge storms passed through frequently. The distant sound of thunder could almost always be heard on any particular day. We slid down the cliffside and found ourselves a nice safe nook on the wall, where we rested and recovered our stamina. And decidedly added our voice to the wind's symphony. When our stamina was mostly recovered, we rocketed ourselves across the river and continued our hunt. The warm sun embrace had vanished from this plain, and just in time, as the sound of Omniraptors appeared to be closer than ever. Atop a tall rock, we caught our first glimpse of our prey, the highlights and silhouette of an Omniraptor. From the sounds around, he was not alone. We launched ourselves into the jungle's cliff wall, and slowly crawled into the thicket, unseen and unheard. The vocalizations of the pack inside the darkness gives away their location. And we were within striking distance now. We could see a dull gray figure laying down beneath the brush, the shine of his eyes giving away his position. We moved with caution and make sure our trajectory will be true. We assassinate our target cleanly, his companions confused by the sudden commotion and death cries of their friend. We climbed a nearby tree for safety and simply watched on as they came to grips with the sudden change in their family dynamic. When they would finally notice me, will let out a powerful roar, confirming their suspicions. We could have easily killed them too, but felt it would have been wasteful to have so much food and not enough stomachs to fill them. Seriously though, these pests are annoying. Every single time something dies, they come in abundance. When they were finally pushed aside, we'd grabbed the organs that would provide us with our desired diet and stored them atop the cliffside. Our nutrients were close to disappearing, so it'd be good time to change up our food buffs. However, by the time our nutrients wore off, the organs had already rotted. We instead would need to fill up our diet on AI boar again, and then set off on another Omniraptor hunt. We ended up finding a mega mix pack across the river, but we didn't know that yet. What we did see was a whole bunch of Omniraptors that we could possibly hunt. But then, we're attacked by a random flock of pests, which push us out of our tree. We jump down to the ground level and maneuver around, and begin to position ourselves into a place we might be able to ambush the pack from. We successfully managed to get above the megapack. We could see multiple of them laying down on the forest floor beneath us. We still needed to get a little bit closer before we could be in striking range, but things were looking good so far. When it came time to make our next jump, we struggled to find a landing zone. Everything just seemed to be out of reach. The smart thing would have been to reposition and find a cleaner path. But instead, we try to rush. We aim for a huge jump from a towering tree to another. Our claws scratched the branch's bark as we whistled to the ground below, the sound of our breaking bones alerting anyone paying attention to our entry. We lay down in a brush, unable to climb with broken legs, but it seems the end of the lines finally caught us. As we turned into dinner, the Ceratosaurus's jaws clamped down. The world faded away as our final moments were swallowed by the relentless jaws of our predator.